Have you received any gifts from anyone? Has anyone unknowingly passed you something that might be dangerous? The reason I'm asking you these questions is because we're concerned that there may be a threat to the fellow passengers or plane. And even when we get through to the gate, if we board the wrong plane or we don't board the plane that the luggage was tagged to, that luggage gets pulled. When we continue through the security process, we need to present government-issued identification. And we apply that, and we pass through security, an additional security check. And that identification occurs again on many flights at the gate to verify that we are who we say we are and that we're boarding the right plane to the right destination. In some airports, biometrics is used to further validate this process, and identification process. When we extend to on the admin side, what are the tools and processes that the security operations in airports may leverage? And while the tools are key, there's a couple attributes that are even more critical. Specifically, there's thousands of live video streams in a single airport. And to consolidate those live video streams down to relevant intelligence that can be actioned is a huge problem. There needs to be a consolidated dashboard. Without this consolidated dashboard, it would be very, very difficult to identify and take action with sufficient adequate time. Additionally, beyond the central dashboard, a prerequisite of making that useful is the value of the information that's being fed to it. And the value of that information is based on the richness of data, the richness of the input, and the indicators of compromise or the features that may be interesting from a security enforcement perspective. So in our world, that translates to data input and the machine learning and AI that's applied to the IOCs associated with these data streams. Now, when we apply what zero trust security and look at it in the context of air travel, there's a couple outcomes, business outcomes, if you will, that are critical. First, there needs to be a near zero false negative rate. So in my home airport of Newark, they see roughly 80,000 passengers a day. So what that means is a 0.01 false negative rate translates to 80 dangerous passengers every single day. Now, if Newark Airport saw 80 dangerous passengers every day, no one in this room would get on a plane. So when we look at the outcomes that are necessary, there needs to be absolute zero tolerance for false negatives. And when we look at the corollary for false positive rate, there is an acceptable rate of, well, we're asking too many questions or we're digging too deep from a security perspective that goes beyond, let's say, traditional or let's say average scrutiny. But it's okay to have a low rate of false positives to the extent that it doesn't interrupt the human experience. But in the trade-off of zero false negative and low false positive, we need to also provide a seamless user experience. So even after we're on the plane, please return your seat backs and tray tables to their full upright and locked position. Please be sure that your seat is buckled low and flat across your lap. We could all, many of us can recite the speech we get every time boarding a plane. This is a seamless experience. I've been conditioned. And many of us go through many, many different airports, and we all have near similar experience. We know what to expect. We know where we need to go. We know how much time we need to prepare. There's a well-educated, well-orchestrated process, and the outcomes are exactly what, in almost all cases, unless there's weather delay, equipment problems, a missing pilot, hungover from Mardi Gras, that in general, we know what to expect and the outcomes are predictable. But to make these three business outcomes salient to our world, the first one, you need to always be right, always. The second one, When you're not right, you need to be wrong in the right direction, and you can't impact the users. It's quite a high bar, right? So now what do we do in our industry? We tell users, don't click on links you don't know. If there's a domain and a URL or a link that looks unfamiliar, don't click on it. And then we present them a series of very long URLs, and we say, it's OK to maybe sometimes click on these links. Now, one of these links is malicious, and one of these links is not. Now, I have a hard time seeing from up here, but how many think the top link is malicious? How many think the bottom link is malicious? So, again, you need to be right 100% of the time. And if you're wrong, you need to be wrong in the right direction. And you can't interrupt the user experience. We've done none of those things. We've made it very complicated. We've educated our end user communities in wildly inconsistent ways. And they have to be right in the wrong way. Wrong in the right way, rather. So we've made our industry very, very difficult. And it's not just this, right? Let's say we gave them an easy link. So some of you may be familiar with the zero-font phishing attack that was somewhat prolific a short while ago. And basically, it was leveraging natural language processing in Microsoft, but other tools as well, that would look at the native, the readable text, but it was trivial to insert links and URLs with font size 0 in the middle of that text. And then the user still has to select this link or not. Is it safe? Is it not safe? Again, always right, wrong in the right direction, and no seamless user experience. We're not there. And if we advance this perspective to the DevOps world, where our DevOps and application development partners, business partners, they're being told, run really fast. It's OK if you make a mistake. It's OK to make mistakes, because we want you to run really fast, and we'll iterate over and over and over again. But what do mistakes mean? What's the implication of mistakes? How does that translate to always being right, being wrong in the right direction, and not impacting the user experience? In this case, we have a Lambda function that I can query the environment variables for the session key and the session token and the access key. And it was kind enough to share it with me. Well, it was, I guess, fail fast, but with consequences. So again, from an industry perspective, we need to apply a different paradigm. We need to go to a different approach, and we can't use the same calculus or the same methodology that got us into this mess. And zero trust is a very powerful conceptual model. But it's just that. It's a conceptual model. When it comes to actually implementing from a ground-up, hands-on keyboard, fundamental technology-specific fashion, we need to prioritize what's important. And there's huge differences in what's important, right? Everyone says there's zero trust. The RSA is in a couple weeks. Many of you will be participating. There'll be many, many vendors there. And they're all going to say the same thing. But how do you
With more than 20 years preventing cyber attack, please welcome Johnny Fishbein, Checkpoint's Chief Information Security Officer.
Good morning. So, if you have good alcohol yesterday, you will enjoy this one. So, it's great to be the CISO of Checkpoint. So you see that I'm still smiling. It's a good day. So what if I tell you that instead of all the scary stories, we are going to go all together to an amazing theme park. Theme parks are created as an experience to have awesome time. And usually, they involved a lot of crazy, interesting technologies, just like my day in Checkpoint. A little bit about the roller coaster. Every roller coaster has tremendous physical forces driving from one side to the other, just like keeping everything like it was and driving modern IT. In every organization, we have different users, different personas with different needs. We have different departments. And all of these departments are driving, all of them, they want to drive to the same place, but they have different needs. So let's move on. Now, before we get into the park, we need to understand the scope. Guys, this is my scope. We start with people, we continue with amazing technologies, and we conclude my main challenge with enabling business process. Every day, I need to decide, take decisions, open this, enable that, close this, control imbalances. The main question is how we enable business processes. So, usually, we go to a theme park with our loved ones, friends, colleagues. OK? So my wife, she's an industrial engineer. She's very organized. Every time we go to a park, she takes a map, and we will see which attractions we will cover in each time. So these are some of my, let's say, daily, weekly challenges. In a theme park, if we do not cover all of them, OK. But in our daily lives, in cybersecurity, if one of them go unattended,